Good morning. My name is Belen Enciso and I'm project officer at the executive agency, like my colleague Livio Casali, with whom I shared this presentation. So this first image of the iceberg shows the complexity of international cooperation projects. As you see, your proposal is just the top of the iceberg, and in fact 90% of the work that must be done for the implementation of the project is influenced by your project environment. Any percentage of this project environment that is not under control will have an impact in the actual implementation of your project. Consortia will have to conciliate different countries, different time zones, different cultures, different personalities, but also different regulations or internal rules. The aim of this presentation is to try to give you some recommendations, some advices that will make this environment more favorable so that your project can be implemented in the best possible conditions. Capacity building projects are cooperation projects between institutions and not between individuals. Project management is not a one-man show, but is an institutional responsibility. And in order to ensure that this endeavor becomes an institutional one and not an individual one, each partner must ensure that they are fully involved and fully committed to the project activities and to the project results. In order to do this, it is very important that each partner commit its key services. These key services must be involved from the very beginning and also be informed and provided feedback all through the project implementation. These key services are, for instance, the academic authorities, which are responsible for the awarding of new degrees or for the decisions on curriculum development. Also the international relations offices, which are able to link your project to the internationalization strategy of the institution, or the financial services, which are very well aware of the institutional rules and the national legislation in which your project will have to operate at the local level. Contractually speaking, all the partners have the same level of responsibility in a multi-beneficiary grant agreement. However, the capacity building action targets the development of the higher education institutions in the partner countries. And in this sense, these institutions are the main beneficiaries of the project. Therefore, they have a specific role, and they must be the owners of the project and the owners of the project results. To become owner of the project, each of the partners must be very well aware of the contractual and financial documents and on the role in the project. It is not only the responsibility of the coordinator to know the grant agreement, the financial rules and the reporting modalities. Each of the partners must have a role in this, must know the contractual documentation, and must be very well aware also of their application, the objectives of the projects, where they are expected to intervene and what are the expected results. Each partner must as well know very well the internal rules of their institution and the national legislation and the national constraints. This in particular to the topics that affect the projects, like the purchase of equipment, the VAT requirements, the recognition or accreditation requirements for curriculum development projects, the visa legislation, etc. Once all the partners are aware of the role and their responsibilities and have become owner of their project, it's the time to gather together to discuss and to come up with what are going to be the consortium internal working modalities. These working modalities are, first of all, contractual obligation from the agency, because you have to provide us with these working modalities in the form of a partnership agreement. But they are not only a contractual obligation, they are in particular the tool for the consortium to operate during the project implementation. This partnership agreement must deal with issues such as how is the project going to reimburse the different type of cost, how is the consortium going to take decisions or deal with conflict resolution, how is the evaluation and monitoring going to be implemented by the project. There's no prescribed formula for this internal project management. That can be, is up to the consortium to choose if they want to have bilateral or joint partnership agreement. They also can choose the way of management they want to have, decentralized or centralized. But what it is an obligation is to provide us with a formula in the form of a partnership agreement, which is signed by the legal representative of each of the partners and must be submitted to the agency within 6 months after the signature of the grant agreement.
The quality assurance. The quality assurance represents an essential part of your project implementation and is dedicated to a specific work package. With the quality assurance, we refer to not only to evaluating the results of your project at the end, whether the curriculum that you develop or the services that you develop are fine or not. We look at the entire process. We look at the way you have implemented in each and every work package, each and every step, and ultimately the results of your project. So do not think that is something that you will have to take into account by the end of the project. You have to take it into account since the very beginning. You need to assess the compliance of the activities that you carried out with the specific objective that you inserted in your proposal, and you need to measure this. Why? Because you always need to keep in mind that there is a sustainability aspect and an impact aspect that we are willing to assess and analyze at the end of the project. Therefore, you're supposed to establish a quality plan since the very beginning, fix and take the indicators that you have foreseen in the logical framework matrix, and elaborate a series of tools. These tools can be either a dashboard, roadmap, SWOT analysis, Gantt chart, you can name it. The important thing is that you are prepared to carry out the analysis. Set up an internal and an external mechanism of quality assurance analysis. Internal refers to actors within the partnerships, actors that perhaps are already involved in the quality assurance of their own institution, and that might constitute a sort of quality assurance committee. But look also at the outside. Look at also at the expertise coming from the outside. So whether you have planned it or possibly not, you can rely on the expertise of an external expert carrying out the assessment of the curriculum development, the master that you have created, on the services in the university that you have established. And this expert, this person that you would like to imply, will have to be a real expert in the thematic. Dissemination of the results. This is another important and key element for the success of your project. What do we define? What is the dissemination? Dissemination is raising the awareness of the key stakeholders that rotate around the implementation of your project. You need to look and you need to reach out to the internal and external target groups. You need to define them first. Internal, we look at your institution, your university, the authority, the different departments, whether a financial, administrative department, quality assurance department, international relations office, and so on. And look also at the actors. Apart from the authorities, we have the staff, the students, or from the outside, if you are having a project aiming at the outside, at the wider society, involved also the labor market. It is imperative that you set a series of activities and you would be able to measure it. We would like to know what you've done to raise the awareness and how many people you reach out to. Number them. One of the tools, the most used and standard tool, which represents also a contractual obligation, is the project website. Please, when you create the project website, don't underestimate it. Do it since the very beginning. We don't want to have project website after 1 year and a half. We want to have project website which are comprehensive. They must report updates and the progress of each and every work packages, and needs to be regularly updated. Together with the project website, we have a series of other tools that can be used. Classical project flyer, leaflet, and brochure that might not be the most environmental friendly one, but we also have social media, media releases, newsletter, and also, of course, conferences, seminars, and so on and so forth. There is a specific section in the program guide which refers to is a sort of a practical guide for the dissemination and exploitation of the results. I invite you to read it. It's the Annex 2 of the program guide. There is a part, a compulsory part when it comes to the visibility of your project, which is represented by the logo of the program and of the European Union. These must appear in each and every publication that you create with your project, and needless to say, it should appear also in each and every page of your website, together with the disclaimer that you could see at the bottom. These are available on the agency website, on the link that you could find on the slides. But apart from the correct use of the logo and disclaimer, which is important contractually speaking, we also have a series of stickers that you're supposed to print and glued or attached to the equipment that you will purchase. Last but not least, there is what we call Erasmus Plus Project Results Platform. This is a platform where you're supposed to upload the results of your project when you reach the end of the project. Do not leave it to the very end. You can start, it's available halfway through and you can already put the results on the platform. Now we move to the impact and sustainability. This is another specific work package, and it is, I would say, if you allow me to say, one of the most important. Why? Because the impact is what we'd like to see at the end of this experience, at the end of this journey of 2 or 3 years. The impact is what you're supposed to leave on the ground after you left and finished the project. And basically, we look at the enhancement of the capacity, whether at partner institution or at individual level, that you have created through the activities of your project. And this impact has to be measured and has to be confronted with what was the original specific objective and specific indicators and what you were able to reach by the end of the project. Sustainability. Sustainability is something that gives continuity to the life of your project, to the results of your project. And this is fundamental. These projects are not supposed to be a 3 years story and then after that we close the door and everything is finished. We would like to see continuation. We would like to see the way you address specific stakeholders, whether there are university authorities, policymakers, labor market, in order to ensure that you have actually thought how to continue and how to build on the results you obtained. Whether you create a curricular development or a specific service on university, address the actors that will ensure you continuity and support after the 2 or 3 years of the project. As I mentioned, it is essential for us that you measure the impact, the expected impact in the application and the real impact at the end. And it is essential that you look at the multiplier effect inside or outside of universities. The way you attract, you manage to build additional capacity with other professors, colleagues, or other university in your region or in your national context. And last but not least, equally important, is the attracting the co-funding or other forms of support. We're not that naive. We know that we will need some financial support in order to be able to carry out activities. Well, you have 3 years' time to reach out and ensure this with key stakeholders.
After all we have heard, we realize that implementing a capacity building project is a big challenge, but you're not alone. In fact, the agency, through our desk and field monitoring activities, will accompany you during this journey, during all the project implementation. So the aim of these monitoring activities is, besides ensuring that the public money is spent wisely, is in particular to provide the projects with advice and recommendations through the implementation, to anticipate difficulties that may have an impact on the project results, and to anticipate difficulties or penalties due to weak implementation. In this sense, you certainly have to see the agency as an additional partner of your consortium. So desk monitoring activities are carried out on a daily basis with daily contact with the coordinators, assessment of reports, video conferencing, etc. And we are also available, of course, for questions or requests coming from partners when they are channeled through the coordinators. In addition, field monitoring activities enable us to visit the projects in their local context. These visits consist of meetings with the project teams and also visits to the premises and the equipment that has been purchased in the framework of the project. Like for desk monitoring activities, the aim of these field monitoring visits is to support the projects and to provide advice. And this, for us, an opportunity to check that the project is being implemented according to the work plan, and is also a possibility to check that the partners are fully aware of their role and responsibilities and fully involved in the project. And in this sense, I would like to mention that the participation of the partners in the partner countries in the field monitoring activities is a contractual obligation. For these field monitoring activities, the agency has some local support from the national Erasmus Plus offices when there is Erasmus in the countries where there is a national Erasmus Plus office, from the European Union delegations, and sometimes also from some external experts. So thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all the success with your project.